Hello everybody and welcome back to this playthrough for Khare, City Port of Traps. In our last video we collected the first spell line needed for the north gate. When you're ready, go to the flag, turn left. As we make our way along the road, we're going to see a burnt down hut and decide to investigate it. Click continue and go to the flag, the burnt down hut. Select search the hut and then select under the mattress. We're going to find a black wooden face mask that's been burnt pretty much in half. So let's take it and continue. Go to the flag outside. As we leave the burning hut, we're going to come across a muscular creature smoking a long pipe and who's nodding at us. Select greet him. And he's going to ask us if the person who owned the hut was a friend of ours. Select no. And then he'll ask us if we're digging around to see if we can find something worth having. Select just curious. He'll tell us that curiosity killed the goblin and said that the person who used to live there fell behind with their rent as they're always forgetting to pay. Select the option, who are you? The creature's going to shake his head. Doesn't matter who I am. And he tips out his pipe and grinds the ashes underfoot. Things are going to be different around here very soon, friend. Vic for First Noble. Click continue. Obviously it seems that Vic has a powerful influence in the city. Go to the flag along the street. We're now at a fountain that is safe to drink from and will restore some stamina for us. Select drink from the fountain. Select drink. And select keep going. Continue. And go to the flag, the corner of a wall. Select walk on. And continue. Now this bit is optional, but I recommend you do it to help this poor creature. Go to the flag, the horse. If you remember when we went to the Festival of Thieves, we managed to grab ourselves a green wig, and that wig is going to allow us to talk to animals. Go to the option, cast a spell. And the spell we want to cast is Yap. Go to Y, A, P, and cast. As we pull on the wig and cast the spell, the horse's snorts are going to change into a string of swear words and curses. Ask the horse what's the problem. The horse is going to explain that it's been tied to this post for the better part of 3 weeks, and that horses aren't meant to stand still. It's getting bored and its knees are getting knocky. Ask the horse where the owner is. The horse will simply whinny, gone, long gone, and not on horseback neither. Finally, ask the owner who its owner is. The horse is going to stamp its feet and shake its mane. Only a noble, it replies. Only an important man of Khare, Lord Tita himself. The horse is going to whinny and snort and shake its mane once more, and our spell's beginning to fade. The last thing we hear before it's completely stopped is the word typical. Select the option to steal the horse. We untie the horse from the post and we get onto its back, and it begins to bolt down the street. Select the option to jump free. We hurt ourselves a little bit, but don't worry, we'll get more stamina later. At least for now the horse is free and will no longer just stand there by the post. Where it goes next to, though, nobody knows. Select continue. And go to the flag, the house. You step through the gate of the house into its wide front yard. It was once a magnificent place, with fish ponds which are now stagnant, fountains now cracked and dry, and small groups of quiet trees, now overgrown and gnarled like whispering old men, and the building itself isn't any better. One side is completely collapsed and the other side is barely standing. Select Continue, and go to the flag, look in the trees. So we pause to look around in the trees and shrubs, and that's when you notice two gleaming eyes staring back at you. A giant bat hangs upside down from one of the branches, watching you. If you want to make the fight easier, you can cast a spell and use Doze, but I recommend simply to draw your sword, as it's not a particularly difficult fight. Pause the video here, and continue once the bat is dead. With the bat dead, let's carry on to the house. Click Continue, and go to the flag, approach the house. For those of you curious why we went to the bat first, if you went to approach the house immediately, it would have hit you from behind and took off some stamina. Click Continue, and go to the flag, the door. Select Knock on the door. Select Try the door. And since both of those options aren't working, we're now going to cast a spell. The spell we'll be casting is DOP, so select D, O, P, and cast. Click Continue, and go to the flag, go inside. You step inside the great stone house. A cold silence descends, quite different from the dusty heat outside. This place feels like it's not been lived in for decades, although judging by the lack of dust, it may not have been quite so long. The floorboards creak underfoot. At the end of the hallway is a sealed door. Is that a chink of light just visible beneath the frame? Select Look at the light. The light beneath the door flickers, now bright, now faint, as though a figure paced back and forth, its shadow coming and going, but you hear no footsteps. Select Creep forwards. As we make our way along the corridor, the walls on either side are lined with large portraits of dusty-looking men and sour-faced-looking women who sneer as you pass. Select Keep going. And as we carry on, a large metal coal scuttle is sitting on the left-hand wall. Don't look inside it because it's a snake and it will bite you and poison you, and there's nothing to be gained. Select Walk Past. Click Continue, and go to the flag, end of the corridor. We now reach the far end of the hall. It is only a short way from the entrance, but now all is in shadow. The only light comes from the gap from the frame of the door in front of you. More darkness wells to the right. You can just make out the first few steps of a flight of stairs, leading away upwards to the second level of the house. Select Continue, and go to the flag, climb the stairs. You place your foot on the first step of the stairwell, and suddenly it begins to move. Is it alive? Some kind of thin, flat beast, or is it a trap? Select Grab the handrail. We steady ourselves only to find it's moving as well. Select Hold on. And thankfully the handrail seems to be moving at the same speed as you do, and it helps you reach the top floor safely. Click Continue, and go to the flag, top of the stairwell. Select Continue, and go to the flag, Library. The library is covered in darkness, and at the far end, a pair of eyes stare back at you. Select who's there. The eyes do not blink or don't move at all. Select Look at the eyes. We boldly step closer, our eyes fixed on those across the room, and nothing happens. Select Show it you mean it no harm. You raise your hands to indicate that you're harmless, and the eyes do not react, and then you see why. It's nothing more than a large portrait. Select Continue, and go to the flag, the painting. The painting is that of a proud and stern-looking man dressed in loose leather armor with a serpent emblem stitched along the length of one arm. The painting fills the entire wall of the room and must be twice the height of the man who posed for its likeness. Select Look at the man. We step back a little bit and truly look at the picture. The most striking thing about him are his eyes. Cold and cruel, they seem to gleam with cunning and the will to survive. They are the eyes of a man who would harm you if it suited him. Otherwise, he stands tall and proud, with one hand on the hilt of a sword and the other wielding a tiny dagger. Everything about him reeks of power and of threat. The picture must be that of the man who lived in this house, and the eyes of the painting seem to follow you as you move. Select Look behind the painting. You raise one corner of the frame from the wall and peer up behind it, but it's too dark to see if there's anything hidden there. Select Lift the painting down. You start to struggle with the painting. Select Try to balance it, and then step backwards and to the left. You hurt yourself a little bit, but it'll be worth it for the information we're about to get. Select Look at the back of the canvas. You can see the writing now, and it says that it's Tita, the 7th noble of Khare. Thanks to the painting, we now know what he looks like, or at the very least what he used to look like. Select Look at the end wall. You don't find anything of interest, just a dark outline. So let's leave the room and continue. And go back to the flag, top of the stairs. Click Continue and go to the flag, bedroom. We don't see anything of interest besides a cane. So let's look at the cane and select Take it, as it'll be useful for later. Click Continue and go back to the top of the stairs because there's nothing to see in the bathroom of interest. Click Continue and go to the flag downstairs. Click Continue again and go to the flag, enter the study. You push the door open into a wide panelled room with thick carpet. The source of the light under the doorframe becomes quickly apparent. A roaring fire burns in an enormous grate on the other side of the room. Click Continue and go to the flag, look around. We see a bunch of grand furniture and other interesting items, but nothing to take with us. What's interesting is that the room is icy cold despite there being a fire in the room, so let's go investigate it. Click Continue and go to the flag, go over to the fire. You try to warm your hands by the fire, only to find that it emits no heat at all. It burns no fuel either. The enormous grate, which is large enough to roast a whole boar, is entirely empty of wood, ash or coal, but the flames are nonetheless brilliant and as high as a man. Select Reach into the fire. As you put your hands into the flames, they crackle and dance and you expect a hearing heat, but nothing happens. You step back. The fire is merely an illusion. Click Continue and go to the flag, step in the hearth. Stealing your courage, you duck your head and step into the grate. The flames surround you, their crackles whispering in your ears as though you stood into a pit of snakes. But you feel no heat at all. Your skin does not blister and your clothing does not ignite. From here, you can see that the hearth extends backwards much further than you might expect. Perhaps it's a tunnel. Click Continue and select the flag, go forward. You continue across the grate, through flames and beyond, into a low stone alcove hidden by the fire. At first there doesn't appear to be anything, but on the far wall are a strange set of markings, a series of long grooves like scratches radiating outwards from a small hole. Select Feel the grooves. Select Examine the small hole. Select a keyhole. And select Insert the walking cane. There is a click, and for a moment nothing happens, and then very slowly the stones begin to move. A passageway is opened. Select Enter the passageway. And continue. And go to the flag, the secret room. The room is slightly bigger than the passageway. The walls are cool stone and there are no windows, but the room is not dark. In one corner, an idol stands on a small shrine, lit by 2 candles which burn with thin, cold flames. This place reeks of death and decay. The shrine is covered in thin, blood-soaked strips of cloth. Select Look at the shrine. The shrine is poor and cheap, unlike everything else in the house. It seems to be made hastily out of uneven stones and a plank of wood, and on top is a small statue of a fat god that's been moulded from humble clay. Select Look at the god. It must be some local deity. At the base of the statue is the name Khare. Above the head is a plaque with a short inscription, and on his face are painted 4 red dots. You glance behind you, suddenly terrified that the secret door might swing shut and leave you trapped in a place like this. But thankfully, it doesn't. Select Read the inscription. The inscription is scrawled as though in the hand of a child, and you have to squint to read it. Give me back my eyes. You are starting to get the jitters down here. Select Look at the dots. The dots on the idol seem to be made with some sort of paint and someone's fingertip. They are perhaps directions on how to worship the god, but there is no indication of what to do or in what order. Only the places. Both eyes, the third eye in his forehead, and his mouth. Select Look at the cloth. There are about 30 or 40 bandages here, running down the shrine like streamers. Each one's an arm span long and as thick as a thumb. Someone was injured for a long time. Select Search the bandages. And amongst the cloth you're going to find a badge. It seems to be the badge of the noble of Khare that used to live here, and it's made of silver. Select Take the badge. Click Continue. And it's time to leave this place. Select the hallway. Continue. And go to the flag, leave the house. Continue again. And go to the flag outside. Continue once more. And go to the flag, the main junction. We seem to have got a lot of clues here, but now it's time to move on. Click Continue, and go to the flag, follow the main road. Select Move On, Continue, and go to the flag, follow the main road. Select Keep Going, and Continue, and select the flag, go over to the crowd. There's not much to gain here, but I like the illustration. Basically, a pixie and a sprite begin fighting each other. No matter what you pick, the fight's going to be over by the time you intervene, so I just recommend to help the sprite because at least it's in good spirit. Have a read of the funny dialogue, and when you're ready, click Continue. And go to the flag, enter the store. You duck your head as you squeeze through the doorway of the dwarf store. The proprietor is a stocky type of advanced years, who peers at you through a pair of bottle glass spectacles balanced on a long and gnarly nose. "You're not a dwarf," he observes with uncanny accuracy as you enter. Select "I want to look around." The dwarf shrugs and says, "Then look away, if you've got enough room to turn that big empty head of yours." He's quite rude, but unfortunately we need a few things from him. First, select the option, a selection of gauntlets. You notice there are two types of gauntlets on sale, chainmail and leather. "5 gold pieces for either," the dwarf remarks helpfully. "Chainmail is hard to make, but leather is hard to come by." We can't tell which one to select, so ask him, "Which one should I buy?" The dwarf looks at you and thinks for a moment, as though considering your character. "Leather," he says eventually. Of course, whether you can trust him or not is another question. We can't trust him because he was incredibly rude to us, so select "Buy the chainmail gauntlets." The leather, after all, is actually a trap. Also, it's worth mentioning that the chainmail gauntlets will improve your strength by 1, making it easier for future fights. Next, select the option Provisions. Select Buy them all, and select a small vial of dust. Select Buy it, and you'll discover that the vial is filled with sand. Finally, select Buy nothing else. You say to the dwarf, "That's enough for me," and he nods at you saying, "A pleasure doing business with you." Yeah, whatever, pal. You saying that must have taken all the personality you've got left. Click Continue, and go to the flag, walk on. You follow the road up a gentle rise towards a building with a large domed roof. All the various alleys seem to converge on it, and it is thronged with people, as busy as the festival on the other side of the city. From here, it seems there is no way around. Click Continue, and go to the flag, approach the building. The road becomes narrower as the slum dwellings either side become more built up. Finally, it opens into a small plaza in the shade of the large domed building. It is some kind of sprawling covered market. Looking left and right, you see several other roads entering the building through different archways. Select, choose where to go next. Click Continue, and go to the flag, into the market. And that's everything for this video. I'll see you all in part 5.